ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ। ਅੱਜ KTV ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਲਿਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਇਹ ਫਿਟਨੈਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੋਗਾ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਬਈ ਘਰਾਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਇੱਕ ਫਿਟਨੈਸ ਇੰਸਟਰਕਟਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਕਰਾ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੈ, 20 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਆ। ਇਹ ਫਿਟਨੈਸ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ, ਪਰਸਨਲ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਔਰ ਨਿਊਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ਨ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਬੂਟ ਕੈਂਪਸ ਚਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਵੋਵਰਹੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਕਰਾਉਂਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਇਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਦਊਗੇ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘਰ ਬੈਠੇ, ਕੁਰਸੀ ਤੇ ਬੈਠੇ, ਸੋਫੇ ਤੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੋਡਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ, ਮੋਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ, ਸਟਰੈਂਥਨਿੰਗ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਲਿਆਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ। ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਰਿਚਰਡ ਮੋਰਿਸ। How are you?
Sat Sivasakar.
Hi Richard, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Just to tell our viewers a little bit about your background, please. So how did you start within the fitness?
Okay, so I've been a fitness and personal trainer for over 20 years. I just got started really, I've had a passion for fitness, trained all of my life really, but just wanted to help other people to become the best version of themselves through health and fitness.
Fantastic. Could you give us a little bit of background on the sort of individuals that attend your boot camps, for example, at the moment?
So I train lots of different people, males, females, people between 20. I've got people in the 60s, 70s that train with me as well. I'd say probably the biggest audience is probably people between 30 to 50. And yeah, males, females, people want to get fit, healthy, not just physically, but mentally, feeling better about themselves, and just getting people moving the best versions they can.
Brilliant. And when the viewers for us are individuals that are at home, you know, because they have either sort of finished work early in their life or they've retired. So just a few examples of the sort of customers that you might have of that age group and the kind of, I suppose, sort of, you know, fitness levels that you've trained individually maybe that you could give us on a personal level?
Yeah, so I've got quite a few clients who are at the same, where people, the main thing is people need to keep moving. So one of the things I work on is a lot of mobility type exercises and getting people moving in lots of different directions. Our bodies really are designed. So if you think about a lot of people who have got sedentary lifestyles, they're sat down working at the desk a lot. So we sat in this type of position here, tight hip flexors, weak glutes, weak lower back. People on a computer, they're sat at home watching the TV, rounded shoulders. When people are going to work, they're driving to work, they're in this kind of position here. So a lot of the exercises I'll do with people is working a lot on posterior chain, working on strengthening the hamstrings, the lower back muscles, the upper back muscles, to keep people's posture better, and to keep people more functional as well.
Okay. One thing that we seem to struggle with a lot as a community are things like problems with knees, and that's not just sports related, that just seems to be a general issue. You know, for example, my parents have both had knee replacements. So is there anything that you can be talking to our viewers about, you know, when we sort of go through the program on mobility and knee strengthening exercises?
Yeah, a lot of it is about strengthening. So when you're younger, you'll have more muscle on the body. That's normal. As you get older, you start to lose muscle. So there's a saying: if you don't use it, you lose it. So it is about keeping as active as possible. So if you've got strong muscles around the joints, then they're going to be protecting. When you start to lose the muscle, that's when you'll start to feel it more into the joints. So it is about keeping active and doing some strength-based exercises. And when I say strength-based exercise, that could be different for each individual. So we're all designed to bend. So things like this here is a squat. We can all do that when we get up and sit down onto a chair, standing up from a chair, we're squatting down. So those are real good exercises to build the strength into the front of the legs here, into our quads. But there's a lot of different other exercises I can show as well. But that's just like a simple exercise to keep the strength within the legs and the muscle as well.
Fantastic, okay. So ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਇਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ, ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤ ਮਸਲਸ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ, ਫਿਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੋਡਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਦਰਦ ਘਟ ਸਕਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਾ ਗੋਡਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਆ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਨੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਕਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾ ਲੈਣੀਆਂ, ਪਰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਅੱਗੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਫਿਟਨੈਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਦਿਖਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਓਨੇ ਹੀ ਜੋਰ ਲਾਉਣਾ, ਓਨੀ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਕਰਨੀ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਹ ਨਾ ਚੜੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚੋ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਘਮੇਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਣੇ। ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ। ਸੋ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਕਰਿਓ। ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਰਿਚਰਡ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਅੱਜ ਦਿਖਾ ਲੂਗਾ, ਅਗਲੇ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਮੋਢਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਈਆਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਢੂਈ ਦੀ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ, ਗੋਡਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ। ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖਾ ਰਹੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੇ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦਿਖਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਦਿਖਾ ਲਾਂਗੇ ਰਿਚਰਡ ਦੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ। ਸੋ as I've explained to the viewers, that in the coming weeks you'll be explaining to them about posture, shoulders, back, knees, and obviously they can call in and ask us for any particular advice they might need or any exercises, and then we can obviously speak to you about that as well. So I'm going to leave you to now do some exercises with them for today, and then obviously in the coming weeks we can work on some things. Is that okay, Richard?
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
So the majority of people, we sat down for way too long. So when we get up in the morning, we sit down in a chair, we drive to work, we sat down in this position, we go to work, we sat down in this position, we go home, we sat watching the TV, and we go to bed and we're normally in this kind of position. So what normally happens is we get tight hip flexors, we get a weak lower back. If we sat on a computer or we're sitting forward here, we've got rounded shoulders. So a lot of our posterior muscles, the back of our shoulders, our upper back muscles, our lower back, the back of our legs, those are the muscles that we really need to be working on when we're exercising to get some mobility and some strength into the body as well. So if you can, you want to try and move as much as we can. Our bodies are designed to move. So unless you can't move, then there is a few exercises we can do in a seated position, but otherwise we do want to try and keep as mobile as possible. The one exercise, I always try and start through the posture and start with our neck first of all. So one exercise is just to roll our neck side to side, nothing too hard, just get some movement into our neck because our neck muscles can become quite tight. And then from there is just sitting down and just rolling the shoulders right the way back, just little circles going backwards. Again, if you can do them standing up, that's a better way, but if not, then sitting down and just rolling the shoulders back. I normally go for about 10 to 15 shoulder rolls going backwards, and then I'll reverse and do the same going forwards. So 10 to 15 one way, and then 10 to 15 the opposite way. So if you can stand, then it's better to stand because we're also switching on a lot of our core muscles. So our core is basically, a lot of people think the core is just the stomach muscles. The core, if you take away your legs, take away your arms, that is basically core. So it's your stomach muscles, the back muscles, it's also your hips, the glutes, it's all of this area here. And that's what we really want to be activating as well. So if you can stand, then stand, draw the belly button in towards the spine, and that's switching on the stomach muscles as well. And then just rolling the shoulders right the way back. So again, 10 to 15 reps going backwards, and then the same 10 to 15 reps going forwards. This again, some movement into shoulders. And then from there, just taking the arms right the way back, big circles going backwards. You may feel a little bit of clicking on the shoulders, that's normal, that can just be that because the muscles may not have been used, or you may have a little bit of pain in the joints. And then take the arms the opposite way, big circles going forwards. And then from there, just swinging the arms up, let them fall down. So we should be getting our body to move for everyday activities like bending, turning, twisting, rotating. And this mobility here, I normally do this at the beginning of a session, which is a good warm up as well. It may get your heart rate up a little bit as well. And then from there, hands together, taking the arms back, squeeze the shoulder blades, and then one arm up, one arm down, back to center, the same the opposite way. This is stretching across the chest muscles, so it's opening the chest and the shoulders. It's also strengthening the upper back muscles. So when you've been sat down a lot during the day, this is strengthening those muscle groups up as well. So again, same again, 10 to 15 reps on them. And then from there, hands to the side of the body, drop down to the one side, back up, drop down, back up. So all you're doing is you're just taking your fingertips down as far as you feel you can, keeping your body nice and tall. And then as you start to do them, lift the elbow nice and high, and you should feel a stretch here into the lats. And this is really just getting some movement into the whole body. And then each time, if you can, try and bring the elbow a little bit higher and try and reach down the leg a little bit more. So depending on your flexibility and your movement, it may be different to mine. And then again, once you've done 10 to 15 each side, we're going to go hands onto the hips, feet hip to shoulder width apart, and we're just going to do little hip circles. So hip circles one way, 10 to 15 reps one way. And then once we've done them, we're going to go opposite way, 10 to 15. And this is really just stretching a lot of those muscles out into the core, getting into the hip flexors. Okay, as I say, we should be able to bend, turn, twist for everyday functional movement. So imagine we're picking something up off the floor and we're putting it onto a cupboard. So that's basically the movement I want you to be doing now. So we're dropping down to the knee and we're rotating over the shoulder. As I drop down, I'm breathing in, and then I'm breathing out as I rotate. Deep breath, breathe out. So as I do them, I'm coming up onto the ball of the foot, I'm lifting the heel, and I'm turning the hip and the shoulder. Deep breath, breathe out. You may start to feel that you're getting a little bit out of breath doing these. That again, that's normal. We're starting to get a heart rate up. And then we do the same on the opposite side. So from the knee, rotate over the shoulder. These are functional based movements that really in everyday life that we'll probably be using these muscle groups. Sometimes we may pull a muscle and it's that our body's not flexible enough, or we haven't used our body in that way. So we just want to get those muscles fired up. And then from there, hands together, draw the belly button towards the spine, and all we're going to do is rotate side to side. So again, we're really thinking and concentrating on our core muscles. Keep getting that breathe in. Keep rotating. As I'm rotating, I'm coming up onto the ball of the foot, and then from there, so again, we should all be able to squat. So if you think about sitting down onto a chair and then standing up from a chair, that is a squat. So when you squat, we want our feet hip to shoulder width apart. We're dropping back. So when a lot of people squat, they bend here from the knees, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the knees. So when you squat, if you do get pain in your knees, it could be that you're doing this and you're leaning your body forward. So a big mistake I see is people do this and they put all the weight onto the tiptoes, they're lifting the heels up and they're overloading the knee. So when you do a squat, imagine we're going to sit into a chair. So I'm dropping my hips back first, I'm dropping back, and then I'm pushing up. So I'm using my glutes, and I'm using the front of my legs here, my quads. So I drop, and I'll lift back up. I'll drop, I lift back up. So everyday movement, we all sit down, stand up. So squats are a real good exercise to do. So on this one, we're going to go feet hip to shoulder width apart. Drop your hips right the way back. And then from there, we're going to stand back up. Drop, stand back up. Now as you stand back up, squeeze and tense. So we're squeezing and tensing our glutes, our lower back, and we're also bringing our shoulders back, so we're working on our posture. So So deep breath on the way down, breathe out as we lift up. And then from there, we're going to do the same again, but as we come up, we're going to rotate. Squat, rotate. So now we're working our legs, we're also working our core muscles, and you should also be getting that heart rate up a little bit more as well. Okay, so just everyday movement patterns to become stronger, to become fitter, but also to become more mobile, so we're mobile for everyday activities. And then from there, same position. This time you're going to squat down, but as you squat down, you're going to come up, and you're going to bring the leg round. We're opening our hips out. Do a squat, bring our leg round, squat, bring our leg round. So if you find it hard to come up onto one leg, you can lean onto something, just give you a little bit of support, but try and really bring that leg nice and high. Another way of doing these is without the squat, and we're just opening the hips, so bringing the knee up nice and high and rotating. This is an area where a lot of people are tight from sitting down a lot during the day. And then from there, we're going to go hands to the side of the head. So I'm not bringing my body down, I'm keeping my body nice and tall, and I'm trying to bring my knee up to my elbow. Really thinking about this whole hip complex here. Bringing the knee nice and high. So this next one, we're going to go feet hip to shoulder width apart, and this one's a deadlift position where we're really working on the back of the legs and also the lower back, so we're working on that posterior chain. Hands onto your thighs, looking forwards. From there, I'm dropping my hips back and I'm sliding my hands down to my knees as I lift up, pushing back, squeezing my lower back, squeezing my shoulder blades, and drop back down. Deep breath on the way down, breathe it out as you lift up. So I'm not leaning forward, it's not coming from my back, it's all coming from my hips. Pushing forward, drop down, pushing forward. So again, we want to be doing 10 to 15 reps on this one. And then once you've done them, the next one, we're just going to work down the body. So we're going to go same position, squat again. So from here, I'm squatting right the way down. I'm going to hold onto my toes and I'm going to lift my legs up. And this is really going to get my hamstrings. So feet hip to shoulder width, drop down as low as I can, body tall. And then I'm lifting up and I'm really stretching here in the back of the legs, stretching the lower back, and drop down. And if you can't touch your toes, then just go down to where you feel comfortable. 10 to 15 reps on this one. So that's my mobility movement. So I'll either do this before a workout to get my body nice and warm and mobile, or if you sat at home and you just want to do some gentle exercises, get your body moving, then do this. It could take 10 to 15 minutes. Do it in the morning, do it in the evening, and your body will become a little bit more mobile, and you should be able to move a little bit better, a little bit more freer in some of those movements as well.
Brilliant, thank you so much, Richard, for that. So just to show, tell our viewers what you did there, those exercises are going to help with what, sorry?
Yes, that's more mobility and movement. So when we say exercise, there's obviously lots of different types of exercise that people may want to do. Some people may be looking more at building the fitness levels. Some people may be more looking at weight loss. Those exercises are more mobility, so it's more about getting some movement into the body, everyday movements. I will, over the coming weeks, show some different exercises we can do. I'd always start with this first. So this is like your ritual, really, your first 5 to 10 minutes of. There's no point going straight into doing exercises when your body's not warming up, because that's when you can pull a muscle. So always do this first, 5 or 10 minutes of this on a morning, on an evening, and then when I kind of show you some of the other exercises, you do this first, as this is your block first to warm up, to get your heart rate up a little bit higher, to get the movement into the body, and then we could then start to move on to some other type of exercises as well.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
ਸੋ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਰਿਚਰਡ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅੱਜ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾ ਲਈਆਂ, ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਬੇਸ ਲਾਈਨ 'ਤੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਜਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ਸ ਦੀ, ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦਾ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਵੀ ਇੱਦੋਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਟਰੈਂਥ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮਸਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੋਡਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ, ਉਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਟੂ ਸੇ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ, ਐਂਡ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਜਾਓ ਹੁਣ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।